Hey, it's Tony is right. I'm Tony. I'm a second year now MFA student. Creative writing, specializing in poetry, concentrating in poetry, however you want to say it. And this video is me deciding if I want to make a chapbook before my thesis. Now, something about me is I already self-published a book of poetry that I'm not ashamed of. It is not in my real name. It's definitely a pseudonym because I feel like there was a wave of pseudonym kind of writing poetries, and it does fall in line with some of the poetry that people kind of I don't want to say mock, but kind of make fun of for I don't know, people just say it's fake deep. Fake deep or whatever. And I don't know if I want to I don't know if I want to get flamed out here in these streets, but let people know what it was. And I reread it and it was just wow, girl, I guess it was good enough for you to get into school, but yeah. So yeah, so all of that, I already self-published a book before I went to my MFA program, and now I've submitted a few things, and so this basically comes after I have written 5 poems, submitted them, and gotten the acceptance back to publish all of them, everything that I submitted. Cool. I am thinking, should I use that time to write chapbooks before my thesis and kind of get acclimated to that, whether or not I publish or not before the thesis and then do the thesis, or do I just keep writing poems and putting them together and stuff like that, and then and what I mean by putting them together, it's maybe these themes work together over here, maybe these themes, and not have anything published before. And I'm really of two minds about that, because it's well, I already submitted, I already have a book self-published, so it doesn't really matter. This isn't my first foray into publishing, right? My thesis, there's people in the course who they have never published a book before, and I'm not that person. I already published a book, so it was self-published, and essentially it's kind of the same thing, but it's just a thesis book now, and it will be me nearly a decade apart from my old writing, which is a good thing. It's a good goddamn thing. But I'm not so precious about, oh, I published before I graduated. And I'm kind of, like I said, I'm in two minds about that. So there's a bunch of chatbook contests that I'm very interested in. I'm personally, I think because I self-published a book, it has taken me out of contests that are first book contests, and so I can't do that, right? So I have to do this is your second book, or this is your third book, or whatever. And I'm just well, if those opportunities kind of, I rushed out and self-published and stuff like that, and I'm kind of glad, because I lost a family member, and I'm in the process of being a second year now. I'm a second year, and had I waited all that time, they would have never seen me publish anything. And so I am grateful that I did publish at least something while they were still alive, because I guess it let them know I was serious, and that this was something I actually did want to do. And so I'm always kind of going to be grateful for having that, because they got to see and read something that I wrote. They won't be here to see or read anything that I have since written. I can't I can't talk to them and say I'm getting published. I can't talk to them and say I finished my thesis. I can't talk to them and say I'm doing this, right? So these things like are on my mind. But like I said, I've already self-published a book, and so a lot of the contests that I'm looking into, they're like, you can't have published a book or have been published, or you can't have like self-published anything. And I'm like, damn, like I can't do anything. And you know, a lot of the first book prizes are done. Like I can't submit to that. And so, you know, second book prizes, or you know, just any poetry collection prizes that aren't your first, right? Like those are the ones I can submit to. Another thing is that I made, that book was a chapbook. And I like chapbooks because I like the accessibility of it. You're not so like, I feel like you're not so tied to having to write like 100 pages worth of poetry. You can do like 15 to 25, maybe 30, and get away with it. And that's not necessarily 15 to 30 poems, but just pages of poetry, right? And that doesn't seem so insurmountable as my thesis, and it really would challenge me to kind of catalog things. There's also the idea that I have for my thesis project that if I do these chapbooks, I can experiment with them, and then I can fine tune whatever process it is and apply it to my thesis, which is now 2 years away. Or really 1.5 years away, right? From fall to fall. I'm not going to be hopefully a fall semester student in 2026, which is when I'm supposed to wrap it up. I'm supposed to be graduating in spring 2024. Spring 2026, sorry. So I really like a yearish and a half, 3/4 type. So these are the decisions I'm trying to think about. And I am leaning more towards making a chapbook. And then I'm just like, well, what will it be about? You know? I guess I go back and forth between the idea that like, how could you, as a now second year poetry student, kind of come to the conclusion that like you're gonna do your thesis and that's gonna be your thesis, but you're choosing that to not be your big entry point into writing. And I don't know, it's just kind of like, who are you? Who do you think you are? That by the time you like do your thesis, you have published, like you've submitted chapbooks, and or like if you submit them and you're accepted, right? Like now this isn't even your first book. You're like 2-3 books in, and I don't know. It's like mentally I'm like thinking, am I upsetting people by like, do people see that I'm jumping the gun or something like that? Like, I don't know. It's like a fear kind of processing it, but I am leaning towards making a chapbook because there's other things that I want to do with my writing that I think would be benefited by having completed them. And I think my thesis will be better for it if I do go through with submitting the chapbooks. And so I may spend the summer looking up chapbooks, and I do also have to start looking up poetry prizes so that I can apply. Specifically one, the age limit I think is 31, and I'll be 31 in June. So basically next year is the last year I can apply for it. If they don't change the like rules, it'll be the only year that I can apply for it, because I tried to do it this year and then someone passed, and I was like, I'm not going to rush it because I'm not prepared mentally, emotionally, psychologically. I'm just not there to do it, and I didn't have any of the things in place. But I need to make a calendar of the major prizes, poetry prizes that we have, the ones that like are several $1,000s, is what I'm talking about. So I'm thinking about it, and yeah, like life is lifing, I guess. But these are the things I'm thinking about for the summer. Like, should I be that ambitious person? and start working on chapbooks and then submitting them out. And then, you know, when I come to my thesis, you know, I'll have these books under my belt. Like, will that diminish the experience, you know what I'm saying, of my MFA to have, I guess, prematurely published? And I guess the answer is no, because I already self-published. But then on some level, because I'm in an MFA program, like, have I acquired those skills yet? I don't know, right? Getting accepted for 5 poems is very different than getting accepted for like 30, right? To actually publish it with a publishing house or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know where I am with that. But thank you for watching. If you have any opinions, I don't really, doesn't bother me. Leave them down below. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.